AITA for walking out after my girlfriend mocked my proposal in front of everyone? I'm William, 33, and I had been with Jenna long enough to know how she took her coffee, which side of the bed she stole, and exactly which fake smile meant she was disappointed but pretending she wasn't. I thought that kind of familiarity meant we were ready for marriage. I didn't realize it just meant I had gotten good at ignoring warnings. Jenna and I had been together for years. Not a few casual years where you still keep separate friend groups and leave toothbrushes at each other's places. I mean real years. Holidays, family dinners, shared bills, emergency contacts, spare keys, arguments about laundry detergent, her mother calling me when Jenna didn't answer, my best friend Marcus knowing her favorite wine because she came to every cookout. We were the couple people assumed would get married eventually. I assumed it too. I was never a flashy guy. I didn't think love needed fireworks, drone footage, or a crowd chanting someone's name to mean something. Jenna was different. She loved the big moments. She liked pictures. She liked nice lighting. She liked people saying, "Oh my God, that's so perfect." For a long time, I thought that was harmless. Some people enjoy being celebrated. That wasn't a crime. About a year before the proposal, she started making little comments. At first, they were easy to brush off. If I bought her flowers from the grocery store after work, she would smile and say, "Ah, cute." Very classic boyfriend starter pack. If I picked a quiet restaurant for date night, she would look around and say, "This is nice." Not really picture-worthy, but nice. If I got her a necklace for her birthday, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "You're sweet. You just don't think about presentation." That sentence stayed with me longer than I admitted. Whenever she said something like that, she wrapped it in a laugh so it sounded like teasing. And if I looked hurt, she acted confused. "What? I'm not mad. I said it was cute." Or, "You're so sensitive. I'm allowed to like nice things." Or, "I'm not high maintenance. I just know what looks embarrassing." That last one should have bothered me more than it did. By the time I started planning the proposal, I already knew Jenna wanted people there. She had said it more than once. "I don't want some random Tuesday night couch proposal," she told me one evening while scrolling through videos of women crying under arches covered in roses. "I want a memory people will talk about." I said, "People as in family?" She shrugged. "Family, friends. The people who matter. I'm not saying it has to be crazy. I just don't want it to feel like you were trying to get it over with." I took that seriously. I chose a dinner celebration with our closest people. Not a giant party, not a rented hall, not a scene designed to go viral. Just a nice private room in a restaurant, with Jenna's parents, Elaine and Victor, her best friend Tasha, a few of our mutual friends, and Marcus, who had been my best friend since before Jenna knew my name. I arranged a small dessert plate with "Congratulations" written in chocolate. I ordered flowers for the table. I paid a deposit for the room and made sure the menu had things Jenna liked. I even asked Elaine if Jenna would want both parents there or if she would prefer friends only. Elaine said, "Oh, she's been waiting for this kind of night." I remember smiling when she said that. I thought it meant I was getting it right. The ring took me longer. Jenna had sent me dozens of videos. Huge oval diamonds. Hidden halos. Thick bands. Women holding their hands against steering wheels, against champagne glasses, against designer bags. She always said the same thing with a little laughing emoji. "Just giving you ideas." One night, she sent me a video of a ring that looked like it needed its own security guard. I replied, "That thing probably costs more than my car." She wrote back, "LOL, don't be dramatic." I'm not saying that exact one. Just the vibe. The vibe, apparently, was make people gasp. I went to a jeweler and spent more time there than I expected. I didn't buy the biggest ring in the case. I bought one I could afford without pretending I had money I didn't have. It was beautiful, clean, elegant, real. The kind of ring that looked like someone had thought about the woman wearing it, not the strangers judging it. It came with paperwork, a resizing option, and a return window. I kept all of it in a folder with the restaurant contract, deposit receipts, florist confirmation, and the notes I had written for the proposal. That folder sounds weird now, but I had started saving things months earlier. Not because I expected a disaster. Not exactly. But I had started noticing how often Jenna talked about money, as if engagement would magically change ownership. A few months before the proposal, we were sitting at my kitchen table going over weekend plans when she said, "After we're engaged, we should make money feel more like ours." I said, "What do you mean?" She waved a hand. I mean, not so separate. Couples shouldn't be so transactional. I agreed in theory. Marriage meant partnership. But something about the way she said it made me pause. What would change? I asked. She looked irritated, like I was missing something obvious. I don't know, William. We'd be building a life. You wouldn't act like my problems are mine and your problems are yours. I said, that depends on the problem. She laughed, but it wasn't warm. See? This is what I mean. You overthink money. She said that in front of people too. At a dinner with friends, Tasha joked about how men waited forever to propose unless they were forced into it. Jenna leaned back in her chair and said, William takes forever because he overthinks money. Everyone laughed. I did too, because that's what you do when you don't want to make a table uncomfortable. Marcus didn't laugh. He looked at me across the table, then looked down at his drink. Later, he asked me, You good? Yeah, I said. She's just joking. He looked like he wanted to argue, but didn't. All right. There were other little things. A mutual friend once told me Jenna had said she was ready to upgrade her life. When I asked what that meant, the friend shrugged and said, You know Jenna. She likes nice stuff. I didn't know Jenna. That was the problem. The night of the proposal, I got to the restaurant early. Marcus came with me to help set things up. He wore a black button-up and had his phone fully charged because I had asked him to record the moment. You sure you're good? He asked while I checked the ring box for the 10th time. Nervous, I said, but in a good way. He nodded. Just remember, you're asking her to marry you. You're not auditioning. I laughed because I thought he was being dramatic. People started arriving around 7. Elaine came in first with Victor. Elaine hugged me too tightly and whispered, Tonight's the night, isn't it? I smiled and said, I hope so. Victor shook my hand, quiet like usual. He was not an emotional man, but he squeezed my shoulder and said, Good luck. Tasha arrived with 2 other friends, all dressed like they knew cameras might be involved. Tasha hugged Jenna when she came in a few minutes later, then whispered something in her ear. Jenna looked over at me and smiled. It was a beautiful smile. At least, that's what I told myself. Jenna looked incredible. She had clearly dressed for something special. Her hair was done, her nails were fresh, and she kept checking her phone like she was waiting for updates from another room. She took pictures of the table, the flowers, her drink, the corner of the room where the lighting was best. When she saw the dessert menu, she said, This place is actually cute. Actually. I ignored that word. Dinner started well enough. People were laughing. Marcus kept giving me little looks like, Now, and I kept shaking my head because I wanted to wait until after the main course. Jenna was in a good mood, but not a relaxed one. She was performing happiness. Sitting straighter when someone took a picture. Tilting her ringless hand into shots, maybe out of habit, maybe out of expectation. The group chat we all shared, called Saturday People, kept lighting up on phones around the table. I saw Tasha glance down and grin. Jenna checked hers twice under the table, then looked at me with that fake innocent expression people use when they know something is coming but don't want to admit they know. My stomach flipped, but I told myself it was nerves. After dinner, the server brought out the dessert plate too early. It said congratulations in chocolate with 2 small candles and a little line of strawberries. The server set it between us, smiled, then realized from my face that the timing was wrong. For half a second, nobody moved. Jenna looked at the plate, then at me. Elaine covered her mouth. Tasha whispered, Oh my God. There was no point waiting anymore. I stood up, my hands already shaking. I reached into my jacket pocket and felt the ring box, heavy and warm from being pressed against me all night. Jenna, I started. The room changed instantly. Chairs shifted. Phones came up. Marcus was already recording, holding his phone vertical because he thought he was capturing one of the best moments of my life. I looked at Jenna and tried to remember the words I had written. I had practiced them in my car. I had practiced them in the shower. I had practiced them standing in my living room while feeling ridiculous. But with everyone looking at me, the words got simple. I wanted the people we love here because you always said you wanted a memory, I said. And I do too. I want the memory of asking you in front of people who know us, who've watched us grow into this. I love you. I know we're not perfect, but I want to build the rest of my life with you. Her eyes were shiny, but not in the way I expected. She was staring at my hand, not my face. I got down on one knee. The room clapped before I even opened the box. Someone said, Yes, too early. Elaine made a small crying sound. I opened the box. Jenna, I said, Will you marry me? For 1 second, I believed everything would be fine. Then Jenna looked at the ring. Her smile froze. She blinked once, then laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an overwhelmed laugh. A sharp, disbelieving laugh that cut through the clapping and made it die in pieces around the room. Wait, she said. That's it. I stayed on one knee, holding the box open, my brain refusing to understand. What? I said quietly. Jenna leaned forward like she wanted a better look. Is that seriously the ring? Someone coughed. A phone lowered halfway. The clapping stopped completely. I said, Jenna. She laughed again, louder this time, like I had put her in an impossible position and she needed everyone to understand that. You really thought I'd say yes to something that small? My face went hot so fast I felt dizzy. Tasha made a tiny sound that might have been a laugh or a gasp. Elaine said nothing. Victor looked down at his plate. I whispered, what are you doing? Jenna sat back, crossing her arms. Not pretending this is enough. The room went so quiet I could hear a fork settle against a plate. I should have stood up then. I should have closed the box and walked away before she had another chance to speak. But shock is a strange thing. Your body freezes while your mind tries to negotiate with reality. I was still kneeling in front of her, still waiting for the woman I loved to realize she had gone too far. Instead, she looked around at the people watching and said, I'm not trying to be mean, but come on. Jenna, Elaine said softly, finally moving. Maybe you two should talk privately. Jenna turned on her mother. No, he made it public. A friend near the end of the table said, Hey, let's not do this here. Jenna didn't even look at him. Why? Everyone was here for the proposal. They can be here for the answer. Then she looked down at me again. I didn't wait this long to be proposed to like I'm some budget option. That was the moment something inside me stopped trying to protect the relationship. Not because she said no. Anyone can say no. A proposal is not a contract someone has to sign because there are witnesses. If Jenna didn't want to marry me, if she felt unsure, if she was overwhelmed, if the answer in her heart was no, she had every right to say it. But she wasn't saying no. She was making sure I felt small enough to pay for a different answer. I stood up. The ring box was still open in my hand. I looked at it for a second, then closed it. The little snap sounded louder than it should have. Jenna rolled her eyes. Oh, don't be dramatic. I looked at her, and for the first time that night, I didn't feel nervous. You didn't reject the ring, I said. You finally said out loud what you thought of me. Her face changed. Just a little. The audience was still there, but now the energy had shifted in a way she hadn't planned. She said, I'm allowed to have standards. I know, I said. I'm not going to fake being grateful just because you're embarrassed. I know. You made this public, William. I looked around the room. At the phone still half raised. At Elaine staring at her napkin. At Tasha pretending to be shocked when 5 minutes earlier she had been smiling at her phone. At Marcus, whose jaw was tight and whose phone was still recording. Then I looked back at Jenna. I'm not embarrassed because you said no, I said. I'm embarrassed because I almost married someone who thinks respect is optional when the ring isn't impressive enough. Her mouth opened, then closed. I turned to Marcus. Don't delete that video. Jenna snapped. Excuse me? I kept my voice low. Tomorrow, you're going to say this went differently. Marcus nodded once. I've got it. Jenna stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. You're seriously walking out? Yes, I said. You're going to leave me here? I looked at the dessert plate between us. Congratulations was starting to melt at the edges. I think you wanted an audience, I said. You have one. Then I walked out. I didn't storm. I didn't throw the ring. I didn't call her names. I didn't flip a table or make some big speech. My legs felt numb, but they worked. I walked past the server who looked like he wanted to disappear into the wall, past the hostess stand, and out into the parking lot. The air outside felt too cold. I made it to my car, opened the door, sat down, and shut it behind me. Then I just sat there with my hands on the steering wheel. The ring box was in my jacket pocket, and somehow it felt heavier than it had all night. A minute later, Marcus got into the passenger seat without asking. Neither of us spoke right away. My phone started buzzing. Jenna. Elaine. Tasha. Saturday people. Jenna again. Then a text from Jenna lit up my screen. You humiliated me by walking out. I stared at it until the words blurred. Marcus looked over. Don't answer her right now. I wasn't going to. You okay? I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. No. He nodded. Yeah. I swallowed hard. But I'm not confused anymore. Marcus opened his phone. I'm uploading the original video. Full file. Not sending some compressed clip people can twist. Thank you. He looked at me carefully. You don't have to defend yourself to people who watched it happen. I wanted to believe that. But people have a way of watching something happen and still choosing the version that costs them the least. By the time I got home, the group chat was already a mess. Tasha wrote, I think everyone needs to calm down. Jenna was shocked. Public proposals are pressure. Another friend replied, she didn't have to say all that though. Someone else wrote, she has the right to say no. Marcus answered, nobody said she didn't. Jenna sent a long message about how she had felt cornered and put on display and expected to perform gratitude. She said the ring made her feel like I didn't know her at all. She said walking out proved I cared more about my pride than her feelings. Then she wrote, I panicked. Everyone is acting like I'm evil for having standards. I sat on the edge of my bed, still wearing the wrinkled shirt I had chosen carefully that morning, and typed one message. I'm not angry, she said no. I'm done because of what she said after. Then I muted the chat. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I woke up to more texts than I wanted to count. Some were kind. Some were careful. Some were the kind of messages people send when they want to sound neutral, but still make you feel responsible. Elaine called at 8:12. I let it ring. Jenna called 3 times before 9. I let those ring too. At 9:34, I got a message from Riley. Riley was one of our mutual friends, but she had always been closer to Jenna. She was there the night before, sitting near Tasha. She was usually quiet in group settings, the kind of person who observed more than she spoke. Her message said, I'm sorry. I need to send you something. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. What is it? She typed for a while. Then 3 screenshots came through. My stomach tightened before I opened them. They were from a different group chat. Not Saturday people. This one was called Dinner Crew, and it clearly did not include me or Marcus. The first screenshot was from 2 weeks before the proposal. Jenna had written, I swear if he proposes with something mid after all this time, I'm making him redo it. Tasha replied with laughing emojis and, girl yes. Make him come correct. Another friend wrote, what if he gets embarrassed? Jenna answered, good. He needs to learn I'm not accepting bare minimum just because he's comfortable. I stopped breathing for a second. The second screenshot was worse. Jenna had sent a ring video, one of the huge ones she had also sent me, and wrote, this is the energy. If he gives me little office manager starter marriage vibes, I'm not pretending. Someone asked, you'd really say no? Jenna replied, not a full no. More like public correction. He won't leave. Not after this many years. I put the phone down. Marcus had been right. She had already planned the rewrite before the moment even happened. Riley sent another message. I thought she was venting. I didn't think she'd actually do it. Last night made me feel sick. I picked up the phone again. There was a third screenshot. This one wasn't about the ring. Jenna had written, once we're engaged, he'll stop acting like everything has to be separate. I need to get organized before wedding stuff starts. Tasha replied, he can help. That's literally husband behavior. Another friend asked, are you telling him about the cards? Jenna replied, not before the ring. He gets weird about money. After we're engaged, it'll be different. We'll be building our future, so he can't act like my problems are only mine. I read that one several times. The cards. I thought about the packages that had started arriving more often. The way Jenna had brushed me off when I asked if she was okay financially. The way Elaine once said, Jenna just needs stability, then changed the subject when I asked what that meant. The way Jenna had talked about engagement like it would unlock access. My phone buzzed again. Riley wrote, I'm really sorry. I replied, thank you for sending these. She wrote, please don't tell them I sent it. I looked at the screenshots, then at the ring box on my dresser. I didn't want revenge. Not the kind people imagine when they hear that word. I didn't want to ruin her life. I didn't want to post the screenshots online or turn our relationship into entertainment for strangers. I didn't want to scream. I wanted out. And I wanted to make sure she could not drag me into the life she had planned for me without my consent. So I made coffee. Black. Because I had run out of the creamer Jenna liked and forgot I didn't have to buy it anymore. Then I opened my laptop. The first thing I did was check the restaurant contract. The private room deposit was partially refundable if canceled within a certain window. The engagement brunch I had tentatively reserved for the next weekend, because Elaine had insisted Jenna would want to celebrate properly, was fully refundable until noon that day. I canceled it. Then I canceled the florist order for the larger arrangement that was supposed to be delivered to Jenna's apartment the following Monday. I emailed the photographer I had booked for engagement pictures, because yes, Jenna had once said, people who wait too long to book photos end up with awkward mall lighting. The photographer was kind and professional. She refunded the deposit minus a small fee. I kept every confirmation email. Then I opened the shared expenses spreadsheet Jenna hated. We didn't have joint bank accounts, but we had plenty of shared convenience. Streaming services, a warehouse membership, a travel fund we had both contributed to for a trip we hadn't booked yet. A furniture payment plan in my name because Jenna had wanted a specific couch and said she would send her half monthly. She was behind on that. I downloaded the payment history. I changed passwords on accounts attached to my card. I removed her from the travel fund access and transferred back the exact amount she had contributed with a note that said, returning your portion of unused trip savings. No insults. No lecture. I made a list of things at her place that belonged to me and things at my place that belonged to her. Laptop charger. Spare key. A small toolbox. 2 jackets. A framed print she loved. A box of skincare she kept under my sink. Her favorite mug. The ordinary details hurt more than the big ones. At noon, Jenna texted again. Can we talk like adults, or are you just going to keep punishing me? I didn't answer. At 12:15, she wrote, I panicked. At 12:20, you made me look shallow. At 12:31, can we just redo this privately? Without everyone staring? That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because I finally understood. She didn't want to redo the proposal because she regretted hurting me. She wanted to redo the scene because the first performance had gone badly for her. By mid-afternoon, Jenna had started telling people her version more aggressively. I knew because messages started coming in again. One friend wrote, I get why you're upset, but she said she felt pressured. Another wrote, she says you intentionally picked a small ring to humble her. That true? I didn't respond to most of them. Marcus did. He sent the full video to people who asked directly. Not a clipped version. Not a dramatic edit. Just the file. One friend texted me after watching it. I'm sorry. That wasn't panic. Another said, she had the right to say no, but that was cruel. Tasha stayed quiet in the public chat, which told me enough. Around 4, Elaine finally got me on the phone. I answered because I wanted to know how much she knew. Her voice was soft in that careful way people use when they're trying to manage you. William, honey, she said, I think last night got away from everyone. I stood in my kitchen, one hand on the counter. It didn't get away from me. She was overwhelmed. So was I. Elaine sighed. You know Jenna can be particular. That's one word for it. She has always had high standards. That's not a bad thing. No, I said. High standards aren't bad. Humiliating someone to train them into spending more is bad. There was a pause. Elaine said, train? I looked at Riley's screenshots on my laptop screen. You should ask her what she said before the proposal. I don't want to get into private conversations between girls. Then don't call me to explain them away. Her tone sharpened. Marriage means helping each other. Jenna needs someone who understands partnership. I said, helping each other requires respect. She planned pressure, not partnership. Elaine went quiet again. I asked, what cards? What? You heard me. She exhaled, and that exhale told me more than any answer could have. Jenna has had some stress, Elaine said. Nothing that couldn't be handled once things were more stable. Stable meaning engaged to me? That's not fair. What isn't fair is letting me walk into a financial arrangement disguised as a proposal. She was going to tell you. When? Elaine didn't answer. I said, before or after I was expected to help her start fresh? Her voice dropped. She loves you. I believed, in that moment, that Elaine thought that was enough. Maybe Jenna did love me in some way. Maybe she loved the comfort of me. The predictability. The fact that I showed up, paid on time, remembered what she liked, handled problems, and didn't embarrass her by needing too much. But love without respect is just need with better lighting. I said, I'm done, Elaine. She made a mistake. No, I said. She made a plan. The mistake was thinking I'd stay after seeing it. I hung up before she could soften it again. That evening, Jenna showed up at my place. She didn't come alone. Tasha drove her, which I saw through the front window. I didn't open the door at first. Jenna knocked, then rang the bell, then knocked again. William, she called. I know you're in there. I texted Marcus before opening the door. She's here. He replied immediately. Want me to come over? I typed, stay by your phone. Then I opened the door, but didn't step aside. Jenna looked different than she had the night before. No perfect posture. No camera smile. Her eyes were red, but I couldn't tell if it was from crying or rage. Maybe both. We need to talk, she said. We can talk here. She looked past me into the house. You're not going to let me in? No. Her face hardened. Wow. That word doesn't work on me today. She crossed her arms. So this is who you are now? Cold. I almost laughed. After last night, you want to talk about cold? I said I panicked. You laughed. I was shocked. You insulted me. I felt insulted first. That stopped me for half a second. By what? She looked at me like I was stupid. By you thinking that ring represented me. I nodded slowly. There it is. What? You're still talking about the ring. Because the ring matters, William. It tells people how you see me. No, I said. The way you treat me tells people how you see me. She looked away toward Tasha's car. I could see Tasha watching us through the windshield. Jenna lowered her voice. If you had just talked to me, we could redo it. Redo what? I asked. The proposal, or the part where you try to train me with embarrassment? Her eyes snapped back to mine. What are you talking about? I took out my phone, opened one screenshot, and held it so she could see only enough. If it's mid, I'm making him redo it. Her face changed. Not guilt first. Anger. Riley had no right, she said. I stared at her. That's what bothers you? Not what you wrote. She took private conversations out of context. Explain the context. Jenna's mouth tightened. I was venting. You wrote that you'd use public correction because I wouldn't leave after this many years. She looked down. I continued. You wrote that once we were engaged, I'd stop acting like your problems were only yours. Her head came up fast. Wow. So now you're spying on me. No. Someone sent me what you said because they watched you do it in real life. That's betrayal. Yes, I said. It is. For 1 second, I thought she understood I meant her. Then she said, you're really going to throw away years over one bad moment? It wasn't one bad moment, I said. It was the first honest one. Her eyes filled again, and for the first time, I saw fear. Not fear of losing me exactly. Fear of losing the version of her future where I absorbed the cost of her choices. She said, I would have said yes if you had listened to me. No, I said. You would have said yes if I had proved I could be embarrassed into paying more. That's not fair. Neither was kneeling in front of you while you called me a budget option. She flinched at that, but not enough. I reached into the small bowl by the door and picked up her spare key. Then I handed her the bag I had packed with her things. She stared at it. You already packed my stuff? The things that were here, yes. Text me a time to exchange the rest. Marcus will be with me. So now I'm dangerous? No. You're dishonest. She took the bag like it offended her. Then she said the sentence that confirmed everything. You're going to regret this when you calm down. I looked at her for a long moment. I am calm, I said. That's why you're scared. She turned and walked back to Tasha's car. I shut the door, locked it, and stood there until I heard the car pull away. My hands were shaking after. Not during. After. That's the thing people don't understand about staying controlled. It doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you refuse to hand someone your reaction so they can use it as evidence against you. I sat on the floor by the door for a while. My shirt was wrinkled. My phone was hot from messages. The house was quiet in a way it hadn't been in years. Then my phone buzzed. It was Victor. His message was short. I saw the video. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. A minute later, another message came in. I didn't know about the messages. I should have said something last night. I stared at that one for a while. Victor had been silent in the restaurant. He had watched his daughter humiliate me and had looked down at his plate. Part of me was angry at him for that. Part of me understood that some people spend entire lives avoiding conflict until silence becomes their first language. I wrote back, thank you. That was all. The next few days were ugly, but not loud. Jenna tried to keep control of the story. She told people I was punishing her for not accepting a proposal. She said I had always been insecure about money. She said I had embarrassed her first by choosing a ring that made her feel undervalued in front of her friends. But the full video kept ruining that version. Not because I looked perfect in it. I looked stunned, pale, humiliated, too slow to stand up. Anybody watching could see a man taking a hit in real time. But they could also hear her clearly. You really thought I'd say yes to something that small? I didn't wait this long to be proposed to like I'm some budget option. Not pretending this is enough. No one had to interpret it. She had said it herself. Then the screenshots started spreading more quietly. I did not blast them into the group chat. I did not post them online. But when someone directly accused me of twisting the situation, I sent only what was necessary. When one friend wrote, "Jenna says you're making it sound planned when it wasn't," I sent the screenshot where she wrote, "If it's mid, I'm making him redo it." When another wrote, "She says the money thing is something you invented," I sent the screenshot about the cards with the names cropped out except Jenna's. That was enough. Tasha tried to delete messages in Dinner Crew, but screenshots don't care about regret. Riley told me later that the group imploded. Tasha said everyone was making a private joke into a crime. Riley said jokes usually stop being jokes when somebody follows through in front of a room full of people. I respected Riley for that. I also knew she was dealing with the fallout of having helped create the atmosphere Jenna felt safe performing in. People like Tasha had spent months telling Jenna that standards meant never feeling grateful unless the price tag was high enough. But encouragement is easy when you're not the one watching someone's face fall in public. The ring went back to the jeweler. That part was harder than I expected. The woman behind the counter recognized me. She had helped me choose it. She looked at the box, then at my face, and her expression softened without becoming nosy. "Did you need to return it?" she asked. "Yes." "Was there anything wrong with the ring?" I almost said no. Then I said, "No, nothing was wrong with the ring." She processed the return quietly. The refund would take a few business days. She handed me a receipt, and I folded it into the folder with everything else. That folder was getting thicker. Restaurant cancellation, florist cancellation, photographer cancellation, travel fund transfer, furniture payment history, screenshot copies, video file link. Not because I wanted to build a case against Jenna. There was no court, no divorce, no custody, no legal war. I kept it because the last gift I was going to give myself was a clean record of reality. A week after the proposal, Jenna texted me one more long message. "You're acting like I'm some gold digger when all I wanted was to feel chosen properly. I have stood by you for years, and you couldn't even give me a proposal that felt like me. Yes, I said things wrong, but you abandoned me in front of everyone. You let Marcus send that video around. You let people attack me. If you loved me, you would have protected me instead of making me look shallow." I read it twice. Then I replied with the only thing I had left to say. "You made yourself look shallow. I protected myself." She responded immediately. "So that's it." I typed yes. Then I blocked her for the night. Not forever. We still had to exchange things. But I needed one night where my phone did not belong to her. The exchange happened the following Saturday in a grocery store parking lot. Neutral place. Daylight. Marcus came with me because he refused to let me be alone for it, even though I told him I could handle it. "I know you can handle it," he said. "That's not the point." Jenna arrived with Elaine this time, not Tasha. Elaine looked tired. Jenna looked furious in a controlled way, like she had practiced appearing wounded instead. I opened my trunk and took out her last box. She handed Marcus a bag with my things because apparently looking directly at me was too much. Elaine approached me while Jenna loaded the box into her car. "William," she said softly, "this has gone too far." I looked at her. "It's over. That's not too far. That's just final." She's humiliated. I know the feeling. Elaine pressed her lips together. "You know, marriage is not about perfection." "No," I said. "It's about respect." She is under a lot of pressure. I didn't create her debt. Elaine's face tightened. I continued, "And I'm not paying it." Her voice dropped. "No one asked you to." "Not directly." She looked away. I said, "That was the whole point, wasn't it? Get the ring first. Turn separate problems into future problems. Make it sound like partnership after the fact." Elaine didn't deny it. That silence was ugly. Jenna came back then and said, "Are you seriously talking about my private finances with my mother in a parking lot?" I said, "I'm talking about the reason you treated my proposal like a negotiation tactic." She stepped closer. "I treated your proposal like what it was." Marcus moved slightly, not between us exactly, but enough to remind her he was there. I kept my voice steady. "Then we agree. It wasn't enough for you." Her eyes narrowed. "You wanted a woman with no standards." "No," I said. "I wanted a partner who didn't confuse standards with contempt." She laughed bitterly. "Enjoy being the victim." "I'm not the victim," I said. "I'm the person who got an answer before signing anything." That landed. For a second, nobody spoke. Then Jenna got in Elaine's car and slammed the door hard enough to make Elaine flinch. Elaine looked at me one last time. I expected another defense, another soft excuse. Instead, she said, very quietly, "I hope someday she understands what she did." I didn't answer, because I didn't need Jenna to understand anymore. I just needed to stay gone. The months after that were strange. People expect the end of a long relationship to feel dramatic, but most of it is practical. Canceling reminders, removing photos from walls, finding her hair ties and couch cushions, relearning what groceries are yours, realizing you don't need to text anyone when you get home, sleeping in the middle of the bed because nobody is there to steal the left side. I missed her sometimes. That might sound stupid after everything, but I did. I missed the version of us that existed on quiet mornings before money and image and resentment entered the room. I missed the Jenna who knew how I liked my eggs, who sent me pictures of dogs she saw on walks, who fell asleep during movies and denied it even while snoring. But missing someone is not the same as being wrong to leave. Every time I felt myself softening, I remembered the sound of the room going quiet. I remembered being on one knee while she laughed. I remembered her saying, "He won't leave. Not after this many years." She had counted on my history with her becoming a cage. Instead, it became evidence of how long I had tried. Tasha eventually sent me a message. It was awkward and defensive and not really an apology. For what it's worth, I didn't think she'd actually say it like that. We were hyping her up, but I know it went too far. I didn't respond. Riley did apologize properly. She said, "I helped make her feel like that was normal. I'm sorry." I told her, "You sent the truth when it mattered." That was enough. Victor checked in once. He didn't ask me to forgive Jenna. He didn't make excuses. He just said he hoped I was doing all right. I appreciated that more than he probably knew. As for Jenna, I heard things through other people because our circles overlapped too much for a clean disappearance. The engagement brunch cancellation embarrassed her because she had apparently hinted to more people than I knew that a second celebration was coming. The photographer deposit disappearing meant no photo shoot. The restaurant video made it impossible for her to play blindsided. The screenshots made it impossible to play misunderstood. And the financial part? I never learned the exact total. I didn't need to. I knew enough to know it was not a small, "Oops, I overspent this month" situation. It was serious enough that Elaine had known. Serious enough that Jenna planned the conversation for after engagement. Serious enough that she saw my proposal less as a question and more as an opening. Without me, she had to deal with it herself. That was not revenge. That was consequence. The funniest part, if there is a funny part, is that people kept asking me what I did with the ring, like that was the center of the story. The ring was never the center. The ring was just the object Jenna used to say what she had been thinking. I have had people tell me I should have proposed privately. Maybe they're right. Public proposals are risky. They can put pressure on someone, and I understand that better now than I did before. But Jenna had asked for the audience. She had curated the setting. She had dressed for the moment. She had checked her phone all night, like she was waiting for the curtain to rise. Her problem was never that people were watching. Her problem was that people saw too much. I also had people say, "Well, if she didn't like the ring, she didn't like the ring. Fine. She didn't have to like it. She didn't have to wear it. She didn't have to marry me." But there is a difference between saying, "I'm sorry, I can't," and saying, "You really thought I'd say yes to something that small?" in front of the person's closest friends and family. There is a difference between having standards and staging humiliation. There is a difference between wanting security and planning to turn someone else's commitment into your bailout. A few months later, Marcus and I were having dinner when he asked if I regretted walking out. I thought about it. I thought about the restaurant, the melted chocolate on the plate, the phones raised in the air, Jenna's face when she realized I had the screenshots, Elaine's silence, the key leaving my bowl by the door. Then I said, "No?" Marcus nodded like he already knew. I said, "I regret not believing the smaller warnings." "That's different," he said. It was. I didn't lose my future that night. I lost the future Jenna had planned for me. The one where I kept proving love by absorbing disrespect. The one where every milestone came with a higher price because she knew I would rather pay than be embarrassed. The one where my money became ours when she needed help, but my feelings stayed mine to manage quietly. That future deserved to end in a restaurant with everyone watching. Not because I wanted to be humiliated. Because the truth needed witnesses. I don't think a proposal should be a test of how much humiliation a person will pay to avoid. I don't think a ring should matter more than the hand holding it. And I don't think "I have standards" should ever be used as a polite way to say, "I expect you to shrink so I can feel bigger." Jenna's no hurt. Her laughter hurt more. But in the end, that no did me a favor. It stopped me before vows, before joint accounts, before wedding deposits that couldn't be refunded, before her debt became our fresh start, before contempt became marriage. I walked into that dinner thinking I was asking Jenna to build a life with me. I walked out understanding she had already built one in her head. I was just supposed to fund it. So yes, I left with the ring in my pocket and everyone whispering behind me. And it was still the smartest thing I did all night. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.